Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shelly, and today I'm going to be talking about Publishers Weekly Best Books of 2022 in their fiction department. Yes, they have already published the best books they thought were, they have already put together their list of the best books published in 2022. That's what I was looking for. And here they are in front of me. Now, if you don't know, I am currently on a no-buy, which I think confused people because I put up a book haul a couple of days ago. And the thing was that I bought all of those books in the month of October. Actually, that was one of the reasons why I needed to go on a no-buy. I bought so many books in October. I've bought so many books this year. And then here comes Publishers Weekly with a list. And y'all know I love a list. And so here, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be talking about all of the fiction books that made it onto their list for the best books of 2022, and I'm going to anti-haul them. I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to buy them. I'm going to be telling you what books I have instead and why I am not going to let this list get in and amongst me, because it is this kind of thing that tempts me to buy books. It is this kind of thing that gets my brain going, and I'm like, that book sounds like it was written for me. That is a Shelley book. I need to pick it up like right now. But instead, I'm going to be telling you all of the reasons why I'm not going to be buying any of the books that are on Publishers Weekly Best Books of 2022. With that opening, I am just going to jump right in. Now, here's the deal with these kinds of lists, these end of the year lists, is that when I see a list like this, my attention goes away from it strays from all of these books behind me, most of which are unread by me, and it puts my attention towards the books that I haven't read, and it gives me major FOMO, like the fear of missing out. I'm like, well, Publishers Weekly said this was really good, and a lot of these titles I have heard of, or I've heard, talked highly about on BookTube, and I start to think, I might want to read that book. That's an author I want to pick up. And I start to spend my money in my mind. And I'm also spending that time thinking about the books that I don't have versus paying attention to the books that I do have. So with this anti-haul, I'm going to go through the list. Of course, I think all of the books on this list are probably, pretty good. But I'm going to be telling you the reasons why I'm not going to buy them, and really the reasons why I'm not going to spend my time on them, i.e. read them or let them get in and amongst me. The biggest reason, the most important reason for me not to buy these books is because I'm on a no-buy. And it is really, really important for me to keep this promise to myself, to not buy any books in the month of November. And so that is actually I could just be like, I'm not going to buy any of these books because I'm on a no-buy. But I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to tell you the books that I'm interested in, and I'm still going to anti-haul them. All right, so are we ready? We're ready? So we're going to start. We're going to start at the top of the list. I have left a lot of room to put the pictures in. Starting at the top of this list, we have The Candy House by Jennifer Egan. Now, Jennifer Egan has another book set in this universe. It's called A Visit from the Goon Squad, and I haven't read that book yet. And so if I'm going to read a book from Jennifer Egan, I'm going to start with her first published work, which actually got better reviews than The Candy House. And I'm going to read that first. And depending on how it goes with that book, I may or may not even read or be interested in The Candy House. So this is really an easy anti-haul. I'm not going, this is an very easy no from me. I'm anti-hauling it very easily. Getting used to this language, y'all, because I'm not going to read The Candy House before I read The Goon Squad. Done. This next book I was actually really interested in, and I really had to kind of talk myself off the ledge of wanting to purchase it, and it is Companion Piece by Ali Smith. Now, the reason why I'm not going to buy this companion piece by Ali Smith, even though it got such good reviews from people that I know and trust here on BookTube, mostly I've heard rave reviews from Roz at Scala Dandelion Around the Books, and I will leave her channel link down below, as well as everybody else I mention in this video, and Lindy from Lindy's Magpie Reads. Both of those ladies gave this book such high praise, but here's the deal. I own two Ali Smith books, and I haven't read them yet. This is Autumn, Ali Smith's beginning of her seasonal quartet, which has gotten a lot of praise. And then I also have Hotel World. And from what I know about Ali Smith is that she is somebody who likes to play around with language. She's got a certain rhythm and little, I don't know, what's another word for playfulness? I'm sure as I'm editing, I'll have like all of these synonyms for playfulness. But yeah, she does a lot of wordplay, and so I know that that's a theme throughout all of her novels. So I'd rather start with the ones that I own versus start with one that I don't own, even though there is a part of me that really does want to read it. Next up, we have Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. Now, I just read a mere few weeks ago, the Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver, and I like that book, but it didn't give me the feeling of wanting and like the desire to read more from her. I thought it was good. It was good at what it was doing. It had a really it had a playful spirit to it. It was a good story, a solid story. And so I see this Demon Copperhead and I'm like, oh, I'm sure it's good at what it's doing. I'm sure it's telling a lovely story. But I also know that Barbara Kingsolver has a long backlist, and I don't need to start with her newest and latest and greatest novel to get another flavor from her. Also, I left feeling like I liked it, but I wasn't like itching to read more from her. And there are authors I own that I have that, that burning desire for. The next book is Devil House by John Darnielle. And this is a book that addresses the massive, it talks about the massive popularity of true crime. Now, it's a metafictional novel. It plays with narrative. This is what I'm seeing on my screen. And here, this is the reason why I'm not going to read it. I don't like true crime. I have tried a handful of true crime novels, including Truman Capote's In Cold Blood, and I can't do it. I just have a difficult time with that subject matter. And so a book that is doing a meta-narrative on the popularity of true crime, I'm like, that book is not for me. Next, we have Dinosaurs by Lydia Millet. Now, this is going to be the story of a middle-aged man who befriends the neighbors that have just moved in, and it's supposed to have a large cast of dynamic male characters, and it tackles the issues of toxic masculinity. At this point, I have read a handful of books about toxic masculinity this year, and that is not a subject I'm really that interested in revisiting, especially it's a very hit and miss topic for me. For example, not Shuggy Bane, what is it called? Douglas Stuart's Young Mungo talked about toxic masculinity. That was one of the main themes, if not the main theme in that book, and I thought it was beautifully done and just so moving and heartfelt. And then I also read A Separate Piece by John Knowles, and that was one that I didn't like at all because I just didn't love the way that it was presented, and it was mostly talking about toxic masculinity, among other things that had a lot going on in it. And knowing that the subject is that hit and miss for me, I would rather wait for other people to read it and review it than being the first sort of knocking at this door, if you know what I mean. We're getting into murky waters here in terms of books that I truly would love to read, y'all. And the next book is Dr. No by Percival Everett. Now, I just read The Trees by Percival Everett, and I thought it was the most brilliant, funny, excellent at what it's doing, witty, and just amazing, okay? I was just I'm still high on this book. I love it so much. And it was shortlisted for the Booker. And then, so this Dr. No book is, I think it's playing around with the James Bond type of thing. It's also satirical. It's supposed to be very witty. And that is just it's really kind of getting in and amongst me because I was one of those kids that watched James Bond growing up. And so seeing that Percival Everett is going to be playing around with those themes and doing his witty satire on them, I'm like, don't go to the website, Shelley, because you might check out. However, when it comes to, I don't read a lot of murder mysteries. That's not the thrust of my reading. And I have a bunch. I have all of these Agatha Christie's right here, these little vintage Agatha Christie's waiting for me. And so if I really were in the mood to read a murder mystery, I really would rather start with what I own versus picking up a brand new book by Percival Everett, even though it sounds incredible. It sounds incredible, y'all. Percival Everett he knows what he's doing, let me tell you that for sure. At least he did with the trees, you know? I don't even know, like, who knows if he's actually doing it with Dr. No, or if Publishers Weekly was like, we slept on the trees and now we want to make up for it by putting Dr. No in the list as one of the best books of 2022, but it really wasn't as good as The Trees. Like, really, can we trust Publishers Weekly? I don't know. And so that is another reason why I'm not going to buy Dr. No by Percival Everett, even though it is really tugging at my heartstrings. Next, we have another one that sounds so good, and it's Either Or by Elif Batuman. She is the author of The Idiot, and this is following the main character of Selene, who is an introvert. She's quite quirky, she's quite awkward, very witty, and makes really sweet and funny observations about the world and her time in college. And Either Or is going to be the next novel following Selene in her sophomore year, where Selene gets on some antidepressants. Apparently she's having her first sexual experiences, and you're gonna get that same wit, observational wit, and the awkwardness and so on. However, I noticed that this is a very particular kind of read. Like, I really have to be in the mood for this. I read this with my friend Fraser Simons at the channel Springboard That. I'll leave him linked down below. And it was good, and I'm really glad that we read it together because we had a lot to talk about. But I'm not having this burning desire to pick up Either Or right now. And even though it made the list, and I have thought about it a bunch in the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 months, there's nothing about it that is like, I want to read that right now. And I think when I get that feeling, then I will check it out from the library and read it then. But until then, even though it's made the list, it hasn't hyped it up for me anymore. This book has all of the keywords, It is Human Blues by Elsa Albert. So as I'm looking at the review, it says that Aviva Rossner, who's the main character, is part of the music industry. She's super into Amy Winehouse. She comes from a judgmental Jewish family. I love books about Jewish families or large families, especially if they're judgmental. It's supposed to be riotously funny, very irreverent, it sounds like, and she is approaching she wants to get pregnant, the main character, and she is very irreverent towards the infertility world, and she's railing against that. And even as they were quoting her, I'm not going to because I don't use those words on my channel, y'all, but even as they're quoting her, I'm like, wow, she sounds really irreverent. However, the reason why I'm not going to buy this is because this is the first time I've heard about this book. And though I love being exposed to new literature, and this cover is getting me, it is all my colors. I love it so much. And it sounds like it's the topic that I want to read about. I feel like if I put this on my wish list and I just wait for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I will have forgotten that it was even on my wish list. It's one of those things. It's in this moment, I really, really want it, but I bet you in 3 weeks, I will be like, Human Blues? I've never heard of that. Again, I'm not gonna buy it, and also I haven't heard anything about it except from Publishers Weekly, and so I would really have to do my homework, and that would take time away from my books, and we're not doing that, y'all. We're not taking time away from my books to chase down something that I may or may not want to read. Next, we have Lessons by Ian McEwan, and this is, Ian McEwan is someone that I've read before. I believe I read Atonement. I might be lying about that. And this is gonna be an easy anti-haul, an easy reason why I don't want to read it. Fraser read it. My friend Fraser, who I believe linked down below. Go follow him. He's pretty amazing. He read it and thought it was meh, and I'm like, that's all I need. that's really all I need. Next up, we have Living Pictures by Polina Barskova, translated from the Russian by Catherine Ciepiela. Now, this is a This is an interesting book because we're getting a mixed media, mixed genre kind of deal. Not mixed media, mixed genre kind of deal. Because there are, the author, Barskova, is using diaries and journals from Leningrad residents, mostly rooted around World War II, and she embellishes on them. And here's the deal. The last time I read a mixed genre book, it did not go so well. It was After Sappho by Selby Wynne Schwartz. I really didn't like that. And so I'm kind of hesitant towards, to walking towards this like more fiction-y version of a nonfiction account. And I have plenty of World War II books that are waiting for me to be read. For example, The Unwomanly Face of War by Svetlana Alexievich. And I also have An Exclusive Love, a memoir by Joanna Adorjan. So I have books about World War II that are waiting for me, and I'm just not going to pick this one up at all. Next up, we have New and Selected Stories. That is a title. I hate it so much, by Cristina Riviera Garza, translated from the Spanish by Sarah Booker. So this is going to be an easy anti-haul. I do love translated work, and I would love to support a translated work by female authors. That's where, women in translation, like woo woo. But I really don't like short stories. I bought this short story collection earlier in the year. I pre-ordered it, and it is from this author, Anthony So. He is an author who was born in the same hometown as me and writes his reflections on that hometown. So that is exactly what I want to read, and I still haven't gotten to it, partly because I am not drawn to short stories in the least. So sorry, New and Selected Stories, you really should have gone with a better name. Next up, we have another book that was raved about, I believe, from Lindy at Lindy's Magpie Reads. And it's Night of the Living Rez by Morgan Talty, which is going to be set in the 1990s about a family dealing with drugs and the opioid crisis, and it's set on a reservation. All of these are like kind of tickling my fancy. But then I also remember, again, I don't like short stories, and if I bought it, it would languish on my shelves. It would sit there unread forever. And so I'm not going to read it, as much as I've heard wonderful things about it. Here's another one that has just all of my buzzwords, the ones that really make my heart palpitate. And it's the title of the book is called Scattered All Over the Earth, and it's by Yoko Tawanda, and it's translated from the Japanese by Margaret Mitsutani. And so here are the buzzwords: vernacular noir, etymological post-apocalypse, a romance in syntax. But here's where I'm like, oh no, I don't know. And it's when it says this: it's hard to nail down which genre this belongs in. And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know. I already mentioned to y'all that I'm just kind of hesitant about like the mixed genre thing. It's supposed to have a polyphonic storyline, and it's kind of experimental. But I don't know. At this point, experimental works can feel like such a gimmick to me. Like I'm just like, I know what you're doing. It's not working. It's not working, y'all. And so I'm just gonna wait. Again, I feel like because this is the first time, I'm gonna say the same thing as I did with Human Blues. See, I already forgot the name of it. It's the first time I've heard of this work, and if I see it popping up all over the place, on more end of the year lists, and I'm like, okay, all right, I feel like everyone's saying that this is a book that I need to read, then I might feel differently about it. But since this is the first time that I'm hearing about it, and we're getting, a polyphonic storyline, and it's a mixed genre kind of thing, I'm like, do I really want to read that? I'm like, no. The next book has the best title. It's called Seasons of Purgatory, and it's by Sarir Mandinipur, translated from the Persian by Sarah Khalil. But here's the deal. Here are the words that are repelling me to it. This is it skillfully fuses the poetic and the brutal. No. I recently read Bastard Out of Carolina by Dorothy Allison, and that book, I am just like, I'm not interested in, I'm looking at the words, and these words are like, these are like, my like, no words. And it's like, it's anchored by violence. No. No. It has the turmoils and dangers of everyday life. No. Hard scrabble lives. No. Harrowing. No. So you know what? It's just an easy no for me. Sorry, Seasons of Purgatory, despite your lovely, lovely title. Another easy no is The Sleeping Car Porter by Suzette Marr. Well, one, I've never heard of this book, which again, I'm just like, I need to know a little bit more. But here are my words for this. They're sexually repressed desires. After Bastard out of Carolina, I need to stay away from anyone who's slightly sexually repressed. It's just, And it's also supposed to be a little bit surreal. And I've expressed in a couple of videos, I don't want to be in somebody's fever dream. I don't want to be in someone's dreamscape. That is not me. That is not the kind of reader that I am. This is why I won't read Haruki Murakami. And I'm sorry, Sleeping Car Porter, you have those words in it. And I'm just like, no, thank you. You know, at the top of the list, it was a lot harder because they were featuring books that really kind of pulled at my heartstrings, that really I'm like, oh, it sounds so good. But this one, Soselenoid, also has my anti-words in them. And this is, so Soselenoid by Marcia Karatsicu, and it was translated from the Romanian by Sean Cotter. And this is going to be, it says it's a fantastical vision of the 1970s and 80s where he lives on a structure built to tap into the fourth dimension. I don't really care. And it joins up with a group of anti-dead people in hopes of getting there. So they're trying to get into the fourth dimension. And what follows is a dizzying quest of Kafka-esque proportions. No, Kafka's not my guy. Fourth dimension stuff. I mean, maybe my anti-words might be exactly what you're looking for, but this is an easy no for me. The next one is The Swimmers by Julie Otsuka, and the main thrust of this is that it's about somebody who is getting dementia, or let me see, Alzheimer's? I think it was dementia though. Yes, dementia. And it's supposed to be about, community and memory and that kind of thing. Here's my easy no. Fraser read it and didn't like it. Good enough for me. Next on the list is The Tower of Babylon by Alejandro Valera. Now this is going to be a queer coming of age novel, which sounds like it is exactly my kind of thing. I love this kind of thing. However, it is a debut novel, and I tend to stay away from debuts because, one, if I love it, it's the only book out there that they have. Like, what are you gonna do? Leave me high and dry? I have to wait for your next novel? How dare you? But the next thing is just like, I know sometimes the debut novels, authors work out their kinks in that work, and I just don't want to be their test reader. So, sorry, Tower of Babylon, you really do sound good. The next book is True Biz by Sarah Novick, which is it's set in present day, and it's going to be about a deaf school and a deaf child and those types of struggles. And on the surface, this sounds very much like something that I would love to read. Actually, I've seen this around, and here's the reason why I'm not going to read it, is that it keeps on getting mixed reviews. I haven't heard so much praise that people are out there like, this is the best book ever about this topic and so on and so forth. And though I think it could be a really touching and well-written story, I really would love for somebody to come out and be like, this was the best book ever, for me to really want to spend my money on it and for me to want to spend my time on it. So until that happens, sorry, True Biz. Can we just take a moment with this last book and this cover? Oh my gosh, this is exactly what I love. It's called The Village Idiot, and it's by Steve Stern. And this is going to be about an artist's life. Oh my gosh, again, all of my buzzwords, like art, artistical life, like demi-demons. I love it all. I love it all. Like, just give me all of the bohemian art books. However, I think that I like art books more than I actually do, because I read, what was it? I forgot the name. I read The Colony by Audrey McGee, which also had those buzzwords. It was like an artist going to a colony in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, yes, yes. And I read it, and I thought it was good. I thought it was good, but it clearly didn't stick with me because I didn't even remember the title. Also, like, I think I like the idea of the book more than I like the book itself, because I have Donna Tartt's The Goldfinch, which I had on my list of books that I wanted to read before I died, and I didn't get to it. And I just swapped out, for my new books that I want to read before I die, I swapped out this book by Donna Tartt for The Secret History. And so I do have an art book, and it's vetted. This won the Pulitzer Prize, y'all, and I still haven't picked it up. So if I want an art book, I have one on my shelves, even though, you know, The Village Idiot, the cover, I mean, can we just, the cover? Okay, well, that's it. So that was my anti-haul for all of the best of fiction according to Publishers Weekly in 2022. Is there anything that you are thinking about picking up? Can I talk you off the ledge? Let me know if you like this style of video. That would be really helpful. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye, y'all.